And you've just heard Designed to Live by IC Islands, and I'm delighted to be joined by the man behind IC Islands, Seamus Joseph O'Donnell. Hello, Seamus.
How are you doing?
I'm really well, thanks. Designed to Live is taken from the new album, Awake in Different Places. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I started recording that one in 2022, and I was really just doing, I started to get into the electronic kind of side of things, because the last album, Within a Light Beam, was kind of getting there. And I was mucking about with this kind of idea on the synth, and I thought, oh, it was just one of these loops that I just got, oh, that's catchy. So I stuck to that, and it was about the time that the Russian war was starting,
Right.
you know. So Designed to Live really is about survival and, being on top. And I was obviously, hoping this war would be finished by now. Ukraine would have stopped all this. It's really kind of about survival, and that was kind of the idea in my head: designed to live, stay alive, keep on top of things. So that was that. But what really Designed to Live is, I really wanted to get that electronic side of me across to people, because there's quite a lot. It's all synth. There's no guitar in that at all. So it's just synth, drum machines, and vocals.
And is it typical of the rest of the album, or
yeah, this album, I think there's only 2 songs that have got guitar in it, and there's a few songs with not songs, tunes without words in it. So it's kind of way different to Within a Light Beam. I kind of started when I got a lot of film, and like I was watched Oppenheimer recently, and the music in that, Hans Zimmer, we all love him, but I kind of got that kind of filmy sound and wanted that coming across as well. It wasn't just what words come across. I wanted to be musical rather than just writing songs and putting that out. I wanted to have a mix. So Awake in Different Places means kind of I'm awake, but I'm doing different styles of music at the same time,
Okay.
So it's kind of, that was the idea in my head.
I wondered, probably reading too deeply into these things, but Awake in Different Places, you've moved around quite a lot, haven't you? And you've made music in different places too.
That's correct, yeah.
So is that a kind of reference point as well?
Yeah, it is that, yeah, because my life's changed over the years, because I've obviously lived in Glasgow for 20 years. I'm now down in Tynemouth, so a bit far away. Well, not too far away, just over the border, really. But yeah, it's right. You're right in saying that, because in Glasgow, I was in many bands at the time, and I only started to really do my own thing when I was kind of thinking about coming down here. So I did music up in Scotland, and I came down here and I did music down here. So yeah, and certainly this latest album is totally different to what I've done before. So yeah, that is the idea of Awake in Different Places. I am in different places as well. So
because you're originally from Malig, is that right?
That's correct, yeah. That's where IC Islands come from.
Right.
So obviously from my house, I look out the window up the stairs where my bedroom is, and you can see the Isle of Egg. You've got Rum, Skye. I mean, it's just beautiful panoramic view of the islands, and that's where IC Islands came from.
That's one of my questions ticked. To do that. But so have you taken different music kind of inspirations from these different places? For instance, how did you kind of get started in Malig? What was the inspiration to make music?
Well, my brother is an Attic Lights. He's Noel O'Donnell. He's a drummer. Mm-hmm. So he's my older brother, and he was into loads of cool music. And I always kind of, I shouldn't say looked at. I hate me saying this. I looked up to him, but he was into loads of cool music, and that's what got me into music, was him, really. And from the early days to listen to really rock, Bon Jovi, Simon & Garfunkel, it all changed as I got older. I was a massive Stone Roses fan, that show my age now right enough. But back then, there's so many different styles. By growing up, and by the time I moved to Glasgow, that's when I started to really. I was only 17, but I moved to Glasgow very young, and that's when I really started to get into music. When I moved down there, because Glasgow is an incredible city for music. There's so many different styles and incredible venues all over the place. So my first gig actually, when I was 15, was the Barrowlands Scene Teenage Fan Club. I mean, there was songs from Northern Britain. Incredible album. Yeah. That was my first ever proper gig I went to, was to see Teenage Fan Club. And that's what opened my ears, was that, so yeah.
I always think Glasgow's an interesting musical city in that way, is in that the music scene is kind of small enough that a lot of people know and play with each other. And, often, I mean, Noel's a good example. He's played in different bands, and, yourself.
That's right. Well, he's playing with Jerry Love just now. He's doing stuff with him.
I saw him at Macintosh Church.
That's right.
Celtic Connections. I was there. It was a great gig.
I heard it was really good, actually. I wish I was there, but miles away.
But that was what I was going to say, is the scene seems to be small enough that happens and people know each other. But there's enough venues that people can still find places to play as well, which isn't true of every city.
Yeah, that's the thing. Glasgow, I miss it for that. I love the vibe and the venues, and it's slightly different down in Newcastle, to be honest, because Tynemouth is just outside Newcastle. But I mean, Newcastle's cool, but it's just not the same as Glasgow. I don't want to diss Newcastle because I love it, but it's a different vibe completely. I'm actually going to see Niles Fram in July at the Glass. I think it's the Glass. It used to be called the Sage. The big.
I know. Yeah.
So I think it's called the Glass Rooms or something now. But yeah, I'm going to go and see him. So again, he's a big one that I'm kind of listening to a lot. He's kind of mixed, isn't he? He's got electronic mixed with classical kind of thing, piano and all sorts. So, but I tell you, that's one thing I miss about Glasgow, is able to go just any night, go and see a great band. You know what I mean? You tend not to get that down here. It's not as wide as Glasgow and so many venues and whatever, but it's still a cool place down here for gigs, so.
And you kind of mentioned that one of the reasons maybe behind making music on your own was that move, because I guess you can't take bands with you.
Yeah, I mean, my life was changing at that point anyway. It was time for a fresh start, and I decided to. It was a job that got me down here. Friends of mine that started their own business, and I knew that I had to take the music side with me, and I knew that I was going to do, because it was the first time really when I moved down here, was really that's the first album was Within a Light Beam, when the year that I moved here, that's when I set up all my gear in my bedroom and made that in here, and I think that was the start of Icy Island really, when I moved away, because I was always in bands in Glasgow.
Yeah,
I'd never really did it on my own until I moved away. Because I always had people around me, and played with many people. But it was such an adventure just to start your own thing, and Within a Light Beam was about that change in my life. That was a new start, everything. So yeah, it was interesting to come and start to do it on my own, and then you start to trust yourself as well when you start to learn to do everything on your own. You take your time with it, and you learn your sound, and you trust your own ears. You don't have other people going, well, that doesn't sound great. You've done it yourself. But I mean, obviously, I would always show people what I would create, what I've created, and they would give me their opinion. But at the same time, when you're in a creative zone, and it's great to be in your own. I love it. There's no arguments. There's no politics.
In terms of people that you've been working with, I think you've been working with Loman Campbell. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, it was actually Noel that kind of gave me the idea. I mean, I knew of Loman Campbell anyway. I'd never really met him before. But it was Noel that mentioned him to me, and I started to listen to stuff, and I thought, oh, right, cool, he's kind of into that electronic side. So I actually just phoned him up one day, and we were on the phone for about an hour, for ages, just talking about music and stuff. So I just wanted to get his vibe, and I sent him the files, and he liked it. So we said, let's go, like he can mix it. So I recorded everything in my room down here, in the music room, and then sent all the files to him to mix it. But I produced it all and recorded everything. All the notes you hear is all me. Everything's me. I sing on it. I do everything on it. But yeah, he did a great job. I really love his style, and he did a great job with that Catherine Joseph as well. He did a remix album as well, didn't he? Recently.
That was another Celtic Connections gig I saw as well, was Catherine Joseph and Loman Campbell at Drygate, and that's what they were doing. It's amazing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think she's playing down here actually in the 1st of May. So that's the Engine Rooms where I've played a couple of times. It's a great wee venue. That Engine Rooms is in North Shields down at the Fish Quay.
Right.
So I'm going to try and get along to that actually.
Yeah, I would recommend it. She's amazing anyway. I absolutely adore her music, and this was just a different side of her brought out by having Loman as well.
I know. I wish I saw that actually. I know that Well, he was just playing. Was it just Scotland that were playing? Did they come down to England or?
I don't know if they did any more together. In the back of my head, I think they maybe did, but I know she's got a tour at the moment, as you say, that's kind of
It's all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of live, is there any plans for you to play
Yeah, at the moment,
live?
at the moment, yeah, there's people I'm speaking to have not set up anything just yet. I want the album to come out. I should get in contact with them now, actually. But yeah, I will be playing gigs. I've not got anything set just yet, but I will be doing gigs this year. Excuse me, in the summertime. Yeah, and I'm hopefully going to get up to Glasgow and do a couple of gigs in Glasgow. So I'm in talks with people to try and set that up. But I'll obviously let everyone know in good
Oh,
time. So.
definitely let us know, and we can let the listeners know. And do you know what form that would take? Is that just going to be you on stage?
Yeah. So the way I do it when I play live, I mean, I played at the Rockaway Beach Festival the same day as Jarvis Cocker. It was a great festival, that actually. But I had a great big stage. So I mean, to be honest, that was the first big gig I did in a long time, and I did it completely on my own. So what I do is I take my sampler, drum machine, laptop, and set everything up that way and play live on top of that. So I've got one of these controllers as well that one of these that keeps me right. But it's tough when you're on your own because you really need to change the way you do things and be completely on the ball, because if you mess up, it's all you. But yeah, but that's the style. I'll do everything on my own: samplers, drum machines, guitars, vocals. So it's quite a nice way of doing it, because at the end of the day, it's very simple, and it's you don't have you're not worried about somebody else maybe mucking things up. It's you, and if you practice enough, you're on the ball. You're going to be fine. So.
And I was thinking about the name Icy Islands. You've said where it's come from, but particularly Designed to Live has got a kind of Balearic feel to it as well. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Imagine listening to that as the sun's rising, and the cover almost invites you to think
it does. Yeah, the cover actually, it's quite. I was walking down the Fish Quay down from here from Tynemouth, and it was one of these weird nights. It was really it was warm, and it was definitely in the summer. I remember I was walking the dog, and it was this house that it's actually I think it was the lighthouse guy's house, and that's where he lived. I think they still do. But awake in different places. It was at night time, and I just looked up and it had this one light on, and it fitted. If I need to take a picture of that, and I just took it from an angle, so you can see the house kind of at an angle and the light shining out, and then you've got the sky as well. And thought that's perfect. And I always, the awake in different places was also in my head. I thought that's a perfect picture for the album, and that's how that came about. It's great to be by the sea as well down here, because I love Glasgow, but being by the sea, I'm from Malig by the sea, it's something that I find comforting, and it helps me write. And I've used a lot of the sea when I'm making my own videos and things like that as well. It's always there. I don't think I could. I think I'll always be by the sea now. I think I'll always live by the sea now. That's what my mother said. She'll never move away from the sea. She has to see the sea. And I think I'm very similar to her.
I know quite a few people, particularly from kind of Argyll area, who say the same thing. They've got to see the sea, but see the islands that they look out over. It's part of their kind of being, if you like. And you mentioned videos, and you do create quite a few videos for your songs or for your tracks. Is that something that's going to continue when the album comes out?
Yeah, until somebody else wants to do them. But no, I quite enjoy that side. I quite enjoy. I'm quite a kind of. I was good at art at school. I'm good. I've always been into film, and I like to do my own. I like to have my own views on how I'm going to do things, and I think when you're in power of your your creativity, you're in charge really, and I think I want to be behind that, and you've done the music, you've done the videos as well. It's quite a nice feeling,
Again, it's interesting talking to someone like yourself or other people that are now doing their own stuff, and just having that control over the whole thing it takes the pressure of being in a band. Sometimes there's different pressures that happen over
Yeah.
the dynamics of bands, and they actually feel, I'm doing this just because I love it now, and not for any other reason.
That's it, and that's what music is for me. I think, and filming and making things like art. So I think and film are very artistic, and I think that's always been in me since an early age. You know, at school I was very good at art, I was very good at music, and it was a shame when I was at school you couldn't have the two of them. You had to pick. So I had to pick music because I couldn't not be with, you know, I had to do music at school. So art was kind of left behind. So it's always nice to have the chance to show art as well, because I do all my own art as well as covers and everything. So it's quite a nice feeling to do everything yourself.
I think you can see that, you know, there's a strong visual identity with everything that you've put out. And the fact that you're in control of that as well, I think must be kind of really satisfying, actually.
It is, yeah. And it's a challenge as well, because you know it can't look rubbish. You know, you want it to look good. So you know, at the end of the day, it's a full package when you do it yourself. But you know, art as well is something I want to start to take up myself. I want to start doing. I've kind of taken up drawing again now and doing things like that. It's a nice thing to do. But now you've got the new iPhones and all these things. They've got great cameras on them now.
Yeah, I know.
So you don't need to go and buy a £1,000 camera to make your video. You can use your phone these days, which is really accessible.
Yeah.
And that makes it easier for us to make videos these days.
Yeah.
So.
And is that the same with making music now? The technology's gone so far that you can do it to a high standard, but it's not going
to... I think so. I mean,
videos and things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I recently started to use Ableton. I used to use Pro Tools when I was recording, and that's what I use. That's what I recorded within a light. I've used Pro Tools to record within a Lightbeam, and Awake in Different Places is done on Ableton. So just getting into Ableton when I started to record Awake in Different Places. So I love Ableton now. It's you know, I can't live without it. But you're right, the technology these days. I mean, Ableton makes it easy for you, I think. I don't know. A lot of people get confused with it, but I find it quite easy to work with.
Right.
It's quite straightforward. You can make a track very, very quickly and make it sound great. I mean, I've got great interfaces, like you've got the Apollo Twin, the Universal Audio, things like that. That makes a difference in the sound. But yeah, I mean, you're right, though. The technology these days does make it easy and more accessible for musicians. Certainly does.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go... If you trust your own ears, you don't have to go and pay £3,000, £4,000 to make a record, you know.
Yeah, I think that is interesting in itself. We should say when the album's coming out. It's May the 10th, is that right?
It is, yes. It's not long now. It's just under a month now, I think. So, yeah, it's a Friday. It comes out 10th of May on a Friday, yeah.
And can people pre-order it? Or, as I say, that seems to be a thing to do these days, is to pre-order. But where can people get it from?
Oh, it's going to be just digitally. I'm not going to put out as a record or CD. It's going to be just digital.
Right.
So yeah, I went down the route the last time with the record for Within a Lightbeam, and you know, it was great to have the record course, but I don't know if you know, I was signed to Track at Tusk, so that's no longer. They shut down. So I thought, because I'm doing it all myself now, releasing myself, it's a lot of money to try and get it on vinyl now. So yeah, it's digital because I'm releasing it myself now. So
yeah, absolutely. Seamus, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Can't wait to hear and listen to the full album. The singles sound great.
Thank you. No, I love the show. The shows are brilliant. I love the new time on a Sunday. It's great. I love listening to it. And thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. And this is I See Islands and Give Me the Key.